Barracks echoed with laughter. Every alien soldier in the room towered over the human recruit, their claws and tentacles flexing effortlessly. "Do you even lift, human?" one sneered, slamming his massive graviton cannon against the floor. The human smiled, quiet, calm, unshaken. No one had ever doubted a human and lived to tell the tale. The Galactic Coalition's training academy was legendary and brutal. Species from across the stars came to master weapons heavier than their bodies, tactics faster than their instincts, and endurance beyond imagination. Cadets were expected to lift, maneuver, and fight with weapons no single species could carry alone. Then came him, a human recruit, barely 6 feet tall, unarmored, untrained in alien combat. Every cadet assumed he would break before the first sunrise. But humans had a reputation that few aliens truly understood. Not strength, not technology, not speed. Persistence, ingenuity, and an unyielding refusal to accept limits. Today, in the barracks filled with sneers and derision, the human would prove exactly why the galaxy never underestimates his kind. The alien cadets crowded around the human, their massive forms towering over him like living monuments of muscle and exoskeleton. Their voices rumbled through the barracks, a mix of derision and disbelief. "Do you even lift, human?" one hissed, flexing claws that could snap reinforced steel. The human glanced at the grav cannon MK-IX, the heaviest weapon in the academy. It rested on its pedestal like a relic of impossible weight. The cadets snorted. Some leaned against it casually, shifting it with barely a thought. To them, it was effortless. To him, it was a mountain. "Maybe we should just get the medics ready," another cadet muttered, smirking. "He won't survive 5 seconds trying to lift it." The human didn't respond. He bent his knees slightly, examining the weapon with a calm, calculating gaze. Unlike the aliens, who relied on raw strength, he was studying balance, leverage, and center of gravity. The aliens continued their mockery, pacing around him like predators circling prey. "You call yourself a recruit. Look at your frame. This cannon weighs more than your entire body. You'll snap in half before your fingers even reach the trigger. I've seen toddlers carry more." Despite their laughter, a few cadets leaned in closer. Something about his calm made them uneasy. Most had never seen a human remain still under mockery, let alone smiling slightly. The human finally spoke quietly, almost to himself. "Strength isn't always measured by muscle," the alien scoffed. "Oh, enlighten us, human. How will you lift it?" He studied the cannon's base, noticing subtle grooves and indentations that seemed almost designed for a support system. He gestured to the portable easel strapped to his pack, a human invention meant to redistribute weight and assist leverage. The alien's laughter turned into bewildered murmurs. "An easel? Are you seriously going to use that to lift our grav cannon?" The human nodded, calm as if he were simply adjusting a chair rather than preparing to lift a weapon heavier than any alien could imagine handling. He bent his knees, planting his feet with precise spacing. His hands gripped the cannon, adjusting the easel underneath to bear part of the weight. Every small movement was calculated, balanced, controlled. The aliens watched tense, their confidence slowly giving way to uncertainty. "It's moving," one whispered. "Impossible," muttered another. "No human could." Minutes passed. The human adjusted the angle, repositioned the easel, and gradually began lifting the grav cannon off the ground. Sparks flew where metal scraped metal, yet the weapon did not topple. The room went from laughter to stunned silence. Cadets leaned closer, wide-eyed, witnessing the impossible. He's doing it," one cadet murmured. This isn't supposed to happen," another whispered. The human didn't strain or groan. He moved as if the cannon were an extension of his body, leveraging every mechanical advantage, every bit of ingenuity his species had ever learned. Sweat formed on alien foreheads. Some cadets took a step back. The instructor, silent until now, simply observed with a faint, knowing smile. "Watch closely," he said. "This is not brute strength. This is adaptation. This is what makes humans humans." The tension reached a boiling point. Every alien cadet in the room knew that if he succeeded, their assumptions about human weakness would crumble entirely. And the human, unshaken by their doubts, continued to lift, proving what every human had known for millennia. Limits exist only until someone decides to surpass them. This long buildup sets the stage for the rising action. Showing alien mockery and arrogance, the human's calm, methodical approach, introduction of human ingenuity, easel leverage, growing tension and disbelief. Among cadets, the grav cannon trembled under the human's grip. Every alien cadet in the barracks leaned in, jaws dropping, eyes wide with disbelief. What should have been impossible was happening before their eyes. The human bent his knees deeper, adjusting the easel's placement under the cannon. With a small shift, the weapon's massive weight distributed evenly. It moved, just slightly, but it moved. Alien whispers filled the room. It's shifting. How is this even possible? He's using strategy? Some of the stronger cadets gritted their teeth. Their pride could not accept that a species they considered physically inferior could manipulate such a weapon. Step aside, human, one barked. You're making this embarrassing. The human didn't flinch. He only glanced at them, calm, collected, almost amused. I don't need you, he said quietly. The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. None had ever seen confidence like this in a recruit, let alone in a human. The ones who had trained against humans before remembered stories of cunning and endurance, but never this level of precision under pressure. The human adjusted his grip again. The easel groaned under the weight, metal creaking, but it held. The cannon began to rise millimeter by millimeter. Time seemed to stretch. The alien's laughter had vanished entirely. Murmurs of fear and awe replaced it. It's moving faster now, whispered a young cadet, clutching the edge of the observation deck. No human should be able to do this, said another. The human's body was taut with controlled effort, every motion purposeful. He rotated slightly, using leverage to balance the cannon, shifting it so the easel bore more weight. He was no longer merely lifting a weapon. He was commanding physics itself. The aliens began to panic. Some took steps back, uncertain whether to intervene or continue observing. The barracks felt smaller, tense, electric with anticipation. Stop, you can't possibly, shouted one massive cadet, but he couldn't finish. The human's eyes were steady. His hands gripped the cannon, using his knowledge of mechanics, leverage, and momentum to raise the grav cannon fully upright. The room went silent. Not a single alien cadet breathed. The impossible had been achieved. He lifted it, muttered a voice in disbelief. With an easel, whispered another, clutching his chest. The human turned the cannon slowly, demonstrating control, and placed it back on the floor with perfect precision, not a scratch on the weapon, not a wobble. Shock rippled through the cadets. Their understanding of strength, endurance, and possibility had been shattered. They realized it wasn't raw power that allowed the human to succeed. It was adaptability, ingenuity, and calm under pressure. Some alien cadets whispered among themselves, "This changes everything. If humans can do this in training, imagine what they can do in real combat. We've underestimated them for centuries." The instructor, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "What you just witnessed is not strength. It is humanity in action. They do not yield to limits, they redefine them." Trembling, the cadets slowly realized a truth that would haunt them for the rest of their careers. Humans are unpredictable, unstoppable, and capable of feats no one else could imagine. Some cadets sank to the floor, overwhelmed by awe and fear. Others took notes frantically, trying to understand the methods behind what they had just seen. A few, the most stubborn, clenched their fists, refusing to admit defeat but secretly terrified of what they had witnessed. The human stepped back, chest rising and falling steadily. He gave the cadets one last glance. Calm, assured, unshaken. A silent statement that echoed through the barracks. Limits exist only if you believe in them. The barracks remained tense, the silence only broken by the low hum of machinery and the soft creak of the easel. Every cadet knew the lesson had been delivered, and it would not be forgotten. The grav cannon was no longer trembling. It was steady. That alone terrified them. The human adjusted his stance one final time. The easel locked into place with a sharp metallic click, redistributing the last impossible fraction of weight. His arms tightened, not in panic, not in strain, but with absolute control. Then he lifted, not inch by inch. Not with hesitation. He lifted it cleanly. The grav cannon MK, IX, an alien weapon designed to require 3 enhanced soldiers or powered exoskeletons, rose fully off the floor, balanced perfectly in the human's hands. The barracks exploded into chaos. No, that's not possible. He's violating safety limits. Humans can't do that, they can't. The human didn't roar in triumph. He didn't show off. He simply shouldered the weapon. Every alien cadet froze. He rotated his torso smoothly, compensating for recoil mass, aligning the barrel with a distant target marker. His finger rested near, but not on the trigger. He wasn't threatening. He was demonstrating. Then calmly, almost casually, he disengaged the safety seal. A warning rune flashed red across the chamber. Live fire capable. Several cadets stumbled backward in fear. The instructor shouted, "Disengage." The human lowered the barrel slightly. "Relax," he said evenly. I won't fire, I just wanted to prove I could. Silence crashed down harder than any explosion. With careful precision, he lowered the cannon, set it back onto its pedestal, and released the easel. The weapon settled without so much as a scratch. No damage, no instability, no error, just proof. One massive alien, who had mocked him the loudest, fell to one knee without realizing it. Another whispered, voice shaking. He didn't overpower it, he understood it. That was when the instructor finally spoke, his voice low and reverent. This is why humanity is dangerous. They don't ask if something is possible, they ask how. The human stepped back, wiped his hands, and looked around the room, not with pride, with expectation. Resolution: the barracks never returned to normal after that day. Word spread faster than hyperspace comms. A human recruit, unaugmented, unarmored, had lifted the grav cannon MK. IX using nothing but an easel, leverage, and understanding of physics. Within hours, the story had reached instructors, commanders, and finally, the Galactic Coalition itself. Training manuals were rewritten. Strength classifications were amended, and next to the human species profile, a new note was added. Physical limits are irrelevant. Humans compensate. Alien cadets no longer mocked the human. They avoided him. Not out of hatred, out of respect mixed with fear. Some approached, quietly asking questions. How did you know where to place the support? How did you keep it balanced? Could other humans do this? The human's answer was always the same. Any of us could. We've been doing it since we learned how to stand. The instructors took notice. Humans were reassigned, not as heavy lifters, but as problem solvers, tactical advisors, engineers, adaptation specialists. Wherever something was deemed impossible, a human was quietly added to the roster. One alien commander summed it up best during a closed briefing. Do not challenge humans at what they are bad at. They will change the rules until they aren't. As for the cadets who laughed, they never laughed again, because they understood the truth now. Humans were not strong because of muscle. Humans were not dangerous because of weapons. Humans were terrifying because they refused to accept limits placed on them by others. And once that lesson was learned, no one ever mocked a human recruit again. The human recruit returned to his bunk that night like nothing extraordinary had happened. He cleaned his gear, sent a message home, slept, but across the academy whispers spread. They don't fight the weight. They don't challenge the problem. They change the rules. And slowly the galaxy began to understand. Humans were never the strongest species. They were never the fastest. They were never the biggest. They were something far more dangerous. They were the species that looked at the impossible and asked only one question. How do we make this work? And once they had the answer, nothing in the galaxy could stop them. So remember this lesson, cadet. Humans don't overpower obstacles. They rethink them. They don't ask if something is impossible. They ask how. And that is why, across the galaxy, humans are not feared for their weapons, but for the minds that wield them. Because when a human says, "Stand back, I've got this," history has already learned it's wise to listen.